Ontiveros. Welcome to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Tonight on the program, as COVID-19 cases rise and the threat of the highly transmissible Omicron variant looms, alert level 2 will stay as the country rings in the new year. A group, however, wants more restrictions on minors and unvaccinated people. They might have missed the family Christmas dinner, but not this time around. Thousands of Filipinos are heading to bus terminals to catch last-minute trips back home a day before New Year's Eve. And as the nation commemorates the life and works of Jose Rizal, the government unveils the tallest 3D printed statue of the national hero. The country exceeds the 1,000 mark in new COVID-19 cases for the first time in more than a month. 1,623 people contracted the virus. The last time the country's daily count reached more than 1,000 was on November 23 at over 1,100. Today's figure excludes data from 5 laboratories. Active cases are more than 11,700. Almost 31,000 people were tested for COVID-19 and 6.6% of them turned out positive. Now, this is beyond the World Health Organization's 5% benchmark. A positivity rate below 5% indicates that virus transmission on the ground is under control. Today's caseload was within the projections of independent research group Octa. Octa estimates at least 1,000 of the fresh cases are from Metro Manila. The group has raised NCR's COVID risk level from very low risk to moderate risk because of the increase in the number of infections, positivity rate, and reproduction number. The group also suggests imposing more restrictions on some people as cases are expected to increase further after the holiday break.
This is a pattern that is actually very similar to what we observe in many countries. One thing we would be recommending, after January 1, that there should be increased restrictions on minors and unvaccinated people from going out. And this is just as a safety precaution.
Amid the concerning rise in infections and the threat of the more transmissible Omicron variant, the country will remain under COVID-19 alert level 2 until January 15th. Malacanang earlier said authorities can escalate alert levels if necessary in areas where there is a spike in cases, even without completing the 15-day window. During the same period, travelers from these countries will be barred entry as Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, and Spain. A stern warning from the health department amid reports of returning Filipinos allegedly skipping quarantine. The agency says, quote, "Now is not the time to relax and deliberately put others in danger. The entire nation worked so hard to keep our cases down. Violators shall be dealt with in accordance with the law," unquote. Government agencies are investigating an unverified viral social media post claiming a woman who arrived from the U.S. bypassed her mandatory facility-based quarantine to attend a party in Makati City. The woman supposedly paid a quarantine facility in a province to lie about her isolation. The DOH says it has received similar reports, adding that locating the Balikbayan's close contacts is underway. Now, in a separate incident, authorities also probing 2 Filipinos who also went straight home upon arriving from the U.S. The travelers claimed that their quarantine hotel said they were not booked on the day they arrived, but the hotel said the 2 failed to check in. The DOH said the passengers have already tested negative for COVID-19. The tourism department warns that hotels violating health and safety protocols may face criminal charges, and their business permits may also get revoked. Now let's get an update on these investigations straight from Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat. Secretary Romulo Puyat, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Can you give us an update first on the case of that woman who went out to Poblacion, Makati?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. That said passenger, returning Filipino, actually she didn't quarantine at all. As soon as the day she arrived, the next day, she was already in Poblacion. And in fact, she was telling her friends that she had connections. That's why she didn't need to quarantine. So immediately, her friends actually told us about it, that how come this person was able to skip the quarantine. So when we inquired with said hotel, the hotel said that she was in isolation. But then the friends all gave signed affidavits. saying that she indeed was with them the day after she arrived, and we even have CCTV cameras. The problem was, when she tested on the 5th day, she tested positive. And all her companions also tested positive.
So, ma'am, let's go, piece by piece lang, no po. There is an affidavit already of her friends.
Yes.
One affidavit
Yes.
of how many people?
Well, we have a lot of signed affidavits that she indeed skipped quarantine. So what now the process is, we gave a notice to explain. We asked the said hotel, because we already have signed affidavit, saying that she didn't quarantine. So, in fact, the girl already admitted that she didn't quarantine. So right now, because she tested positive, she's
Okay.
in an isolation hotel right now. So we're asking, of course, we have to follow due process. We're asking the said hotel that had that allowed that girl not to quarantine to explain. They're given 3 days to explain, because we have to follow the due process.
Secretary Puyat, umiikot na kasi sa social media. It's all over social media. The name of the
Yes.
hotel and the name of this girl. Can you just name them? And after all, there is an affidavit, which is a public document. Can you
Anyway,
name them already?
It's already going around social media. All I can say that we've already notified the said hotel. We've asked them to explain, and we're together with the DILG, SecAño, DOH, SecDuque, and the BOQ, we are, of course, getting at the bottom of this. Because after that, we released this, that we were already investigating, a lot came, and a lot of names were already mentioned, and a lot of hotels were already mentioned, so we're all verifying. But with regard to this specific case, the girl already admitted that she skipped quarantine. But of course, with the Department of Tourism, we have to wait for the explanation of the hotel and to see what penalty we can give. Either, of course, could be as bad as a suspension of their accreditation. That means they have to close.
Who did she admit to that she did not go through quarantine? I mean, apart from her friends. So umamin siya sa
just her
DOT,
friends.
local
Umamin siya sa
DOT
mga
ba na?
friends niya. No, well,
Sa
kasi
friends niya. Okay.
Siya sa friends niya, and the friends signed affidavits because the friends were wondering kasi she just arrived. And then she was with them the day after she arrived. So she admitted it to them that
So,
she didn't quarantine.
Yeah, so ipinagmayabang pa, in other words.
Oo,
Ipinagmayabang na may connection siya.
Oo.
And the reason why a lot of people, I can't, everybody's angry about it is because many of us know of relatives or friends who quarantine themselves when they get back from abroad, and some of them came home, and I know of at least one person come home because a relative, like his mother, is dying.
Correct.
And the mother dies, and he is in a hotel quarantine.
Correct. Diba, they
just
have
2
to
blocks
finish the
away from the
quarantine.
hospital where she dies. Ang
Correct.
daming ganon, Secretary Puyat,
Correct,
diba?
correct.
And then you
At
have
saka,
something
diba,
like this. So, and
at
that's
saka,
why people
are angry. Like ako, that's why I'm also upset because diba our cases were already low. Alert level 2 na tayo sa NCR. Finally, children can go out. Senior citizens can go out. Parang there's a sense of normalcy already. And diba, we were supposed to open last December 1 for foreign tourists. But diba, we suspended that muna because of the Omicron variant. Diba? So, we are mindful naman, diba? We have to take care of our borders. Because we have to maintain the low cases. And then, to be fair naman, majority naman if not, most of the hotels naman follow. And as you said, people follow the quarantine. Sumusunod naman lahat. Pero may mga, a few bad eggs, gaya nito, na because of her, nahawa lahat ng kasama niya, nahawa pati yung owner ng restaurant. Tapos, yung nahawaan, may nahawaan pang iba. Because I'm now getting reports na yung mga nakasama, yung secondary na nahawa rin. So they also tested positive. So parang
So how many people in total na nahawa na?
Ay nako, yung secondary pa lang, naka 23 na ako in fact, but that's only one friend because this person not only went to Poblacion, but also went to other parties. So, ang dami. So, these are just, Tia, di ba nakakapanghina? Because, di ba, we ang tagal-tagal na natin, we all follow naman, di ba? And we understand, di ba, we have to follow because we want, and then, di ba, we've been so proud because, di ba, for a few weeks, we've only had 200 cases a day. Because in the NCR, we've been following, not only are we fully vaccinated, may booster pa. And you know what makes me feel so bad? Because, di ba, ngayon lang talaga mag-start yung tourism, di ba? People are free to go out. And now that you can see, di ba, tumataas na unti-unti yung mga cases. And whenever cases rise, ang unang nadadali ay tourism. So, marami naman mawawala ng trabaho.
Secretary
I hope
Puyat,
people,
Oo. Yes. Secretary, the hotel, like you said, no, papa-explain sila, no? But, and I know we're going to wait for that explanation, so we don't know why they allowed this to happen, no? Pero two questions there. Number one, binayaran sila and she did not stay in quarantine. In other words, there is a hint of dishonesty here on the part, I suppose, of the hotel kasi tumanggap sila ng bayad para sa hotel stay quarantine at hindi nagstay doon. Tapos pangalawa, is this the first and only time that they did this, or is this has this happened before in their hotel, and is that what the DOT should look into now? Baka
Not
hindi lang
only-
ito yung first time.
Yes, exactly. Baka ito lang kasi ang nahuli. And in fact, we've been receiving naman reports, but diba like Tia, when you get reports, you have to verify. But before, when we would receive reports, they would never give us names or the names of the hotel. Ngayon lang talaga, the name of the hotel was given. Actually, the name of the person was given. So when we checked, we knew what hotel she stayed in. So initially, when we asked the hotel, they told us that she was there in isolation. But then, so when we went back to the friends, we told them, oh, she said that she was in isolation. They started to say she's lying. So they started giving us pictures of that date. So they all signed affidavits. So yun naman, we're very grateful to these people that stepped na may signed affidavit because imagine, yun. So it's very important talaga.
If the hotel can be liable,
Oh, yes. The hotel kasi,
ma'am, if the hotel is liable, paano yung, paano itong, I wish you could just name her already because her name's all over and so is the name of the hotel.
But it's anyway, all over social media
how is she going to be made liable?
Well,
Yes.
iba
How
naman
is
yan,
she going,
ibang
is she
case
going to
yun.
be made liable and how?
Kami naman sa Department of Tourism, the one that kakasuhan namin is the hotel. It's the hotel. We can impose fines depending on the gravity, or we could suspend the hotel, remove the accreditation so they have to stop operations. But iba naman yung case with the person itself. Could be fines, could be, I heard that it could be 20 to 50,000 and could be imprisonment. But that's up to the court. But that's not with the Department of Tourism. But as we speak, alam ko, the BOQ, even the DILG, they're already filing cases.
Oh, okay. So, like
It's not only the
you
DOT,
said,
the
just
whole
to summarize,
government.
okay, like you said kanina, 23, last count, 23 affected because of this
and that's
this
only one
incident.
person, ha?
Number two, na one person,
imagine,
this girl, no? That
mo,
everyone knows the name already. It's all over social media. Yeah.
Imagine mo, Pia, yung 23 na naapektuhan, they weren't in contact with the girl. They're secondary. Hindi sila yung
That's really
directly,
horrible. Okay, so
they were in
23
contact with the friends of the girl. Imagine
All right,
that.
so 23 secondary close contacts.
Secondary
Number two, you're
already.
saying that BOQ and DILG are already readying cases against this girl. Number three, you are preparing to receive a report from the hotel. And number four, that the close friends of the girl themselves wrote and signed sworn affidavits to say that, yes, she was with them and that she had skipped quarantine. Ma'am, I wish we had more time, but I need to let you go at this point. But thank you very much for being with us. Talagang naubusan na tayo ng oras. Salamat po, Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat. Now, in other news, many travelers have begun catching trips home to the provinces to usher in the new year with their families. Let's check the situation at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange. Stanley Gaheta joins us live from there. Stanley.
Pia, there seems to be no difference between the number of passengers returning to their provinces last Christmas and in time for New Year. Most of them failed to avail tickets to get home for Christmas last week. There are long queues of passengers waiting at the ticket booths. Most of them are walk-ins. But most of them still had work duties during Christmas. That's why they intend to go back to their provinces by New Year, even if there are only a few days left before they return to work.
Dapat ng 27 pa kami uuwi. Kaso na nagkaroon kami ng relief operation ng company namin.
Nagpabook po kami, sabi daw po fully book na daw po. Tapos sabi daw po nung 30 daw po talaga yung biyahe po namin. Kaya ngayon nagbiyahe po kami.
There are also some first-time passengers who are confused as to which ticketing booth to go to.
Daming tao, siksikan, ganyan. Ang dami pang requirements, ang nakaka-stress po.
Maraming flaws, gaya ng mga signages po. Hindi mo malalaman kung saan ka pupunta.
Those unvaccinated are required to undergo antigen tests on the second floor of PITX to receive a travel pass for areas requiring it. Passengers are required to bring vaccination cards and valid IDs before buying and booking tickets 48 hours prior to their schedule. Compared to Christmas, there are more trips in time for New Year. Meanwhile, bus terminals in Quezon City are packed with passengers patiently waiting for trips bound for Bulacan and Nueva Ecija. In one terminal, only 80 buses are operational and there are hundreds of chance passengers. Pia, while passengers have reasons why they miss to see their loved ones last Christmas, they still see the worth of making a trip back home this New Year as normal schedule returns next week. Pia.
Stanley Gaheta there reporting. Heading now to the country's fireworks capital, where stores are running out of stocks ahead of New Year's Eve. Rex Remigio now reports live from Bocaue in Bulacan. Rex, why are some stalls already running out of supplies?
Well, low supply, high demand. This store right beside me is not running out of customers the entire day. Retailers are saying that the people are now more excited to welcome the new year after coping with the pandemic for nearly 2 years. Some came all the way from Metro Manila like Maricar. It's been her family's tradition to light some fireworks every New Year's Eve. They believe the quality of fireworks being sold in Bulacan is way better than in areas near their home. She bought some fireworks like sparklers and fountain, assuming prices would remain cheap. But it's now thrice more expensive than last year.
Ang laki ng tinaas ng presyo kasi dati yung resibo namin puno. Ngayon, almost kalahati na lang siya. Kahit anong tawad mo, ayaw.
Charmaine from Caloocan City, meanwhile, wasn't able to buy everything on her list. She was told fireworks manufacturers delivered less stock this year.
Parang last year kasi ganitong oras marami pa pero ngayon paubos na eh. Yung fountain na hinahanap namin, ubos na. Tapos yung meron kaming brand pa na isa, yung Heracles, pero ubos na rin siya ngayon.
One seller says fireworks makers limited their stocks, fearing many will not be sold just like last year when demand was low.
Nagmahal po ng mga materyales, mga chemical, na galing po sa ibang bansa.
Retailers also have no plans to adjust their prices tomorrow, New Year's Eve. But they're telling their customers to expect less stock as the New Year revelry nears. Back to you.
Rex, can you give us an update on the fireworks and firecracker-related injuries nationwide?
The health department has recorded 25 fireworks and firecracker-related injuries so far. Authorities continue to discourage the public from using firecrackers and fireworks and participate instead in their local government's community fireworks display, or simply use horns or bang pots and pans inside their homes. Iya.
Rex and Mito there reporting from Bocaue in Bulacan. Up ahead on Newsnight, President Duterte worried there'll be no elbow room left in the newly signed national budget for 2022 if the Omicron variant spreads. And how will Typhoon Odette victims in Palawan spend the new year? We'll take a look. You're watching CNN Philippines.
Pandemic, serving others is the best. Sa pagtutulungan, patuloy ang ating laban sa buhay. Kaya dapat always healthy. With proper diet, exercise, and MX3 coffee mix to ignite my day. Hi guys! Lagi akong focus, active, at MX Ordinary. Because the most important things in life deserve nothing less. MX3 coffee mix, my choice.
Huwag sana nating kalimutang pasalamatan ang mga frontliners na patuloy na nagsasakripisyo.
Sila ang kabalikat natin sa panahon ng peligro. Ang mga frontliners na 24 oras ang serbisyo.
Alay ng frontliners ang kanilang buhay para sa kapakanan ng sambayan ng Pilipino.
Ang ating mga frontliners ang mga bagong bayani ng bayan.
Maraming salamat po, mga mahal nating frontliners.
Mula sa amin, Frontliners! Kayo ang bida!
For my babies, only vet-approved Nutri-Chunks puppies. The only one with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow strong and healthy. Happiness! Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks puppies.
Tumagal tayo sa dilim, laman tayo ng nightlife. Now it's time to live the light life. Let's have San Mig Light with the sun out. Hindi lang panggabi ang bonding natin. Any hour is now happy hour. As we drink up the light life, kumagaan ang feeling. Ang katapusan ng bawat kwento, may inuumpisa ang bago. Get into the light life.
Amid the darkness, look on the bright side. Olympic gold medalist Heidelin Diaz is not only great at lifting weights, she also leads everyone in getting into the Christmas spirit of gift giving. Hundreds of families in the communities of St. Joseph Chapel Community in Batasan, Quezon City, and Pagray Kogyo Urban Poor Community in Antipolo City received Pure Foods Noche Buena gift packs. All thanks to Heidelin and Pure Foods Golden Hearts.
Ngayon, medyo mahirap ang sitwasyon ng Pilipinas at kailangan tayo magkaisa sa pagbibigay ng Noche Buena. Sana po nagustuhan niyo po ang munting regalo namin ng Pure Foods. Para sa Pure Foods family, thank you so much po for doing this initiative. Nagbibigay po ito ng source of happiness and inspiration and hope sa bawat Pilipino.
This is just one of the ways Heidelin gives back this Christmas season. She believes that everyone deserves to celebrate with their loved ones over the delicious meals and treats we grew up sharing together.
Nagpapasalamat po kami kasi po kami po yung napili nyo na pagbigyan po ng tulong. Simula pa noon, ngayon lang ako nakatanggap ng ganito karami. Kaya maraming salamat po.
Hindi namin inaasahan to, kaya nagpapasalamat sa mga sponsor na nagbigay sa amin. Lalo na sa inyo, Miss Heidelin. Masaya rin ako dahil para sa mga anak ko, natutuwa sila.
Christmas is definitely brighter this year dahil buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods. I'm Sam Sidwani, CNN Philippines.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. A dark new year for victims of Typhoon Odette in Palawan. Thousands of families will welcome 2022 in makeshift tents or temporary shelters, some without electricity. Here to give us a closer look is Tristan Nodalo, live from Puerto Princesa City.
Pia, after almost 3-hour trip from Puerto Princesa City proper, we were able to reach Barangay Langogan. The Typhoon Odette devastated the entire community, and devastation is everywhere. Residents there say that surviving the typhoon was already a miracle, and a sentiment echoed by other Odette survivors who will also welcome the new year in the dark.
In the midst of widespread devastation caused by Typhoon Odette in Barangay Langogan, Puerto Princesa, surviving it was nothing short of a miracle. Missionary and church pastor Sandro Buenaflor recounted how more than 20 people sought refuge in his house during the typhoon's onslaught.
Diyan kami nagsilong. Pagsilong namin diyan kami na-trap. So, bali 22 kami katao, sir. Diyan, nadapa, natabunan kami ng mga mga bloke ng simento na yan.
Looking at the destruction now, Sandra thinks it will be a long time before they can bounce back from the tragedy.
Sa pagkaalam ko, hindi number 3. Parang number 6 o number 7. Ito, makakabangon ito, sir, mga 15 to 20 years pa.
Every day, he returns to the remnants of his house searching for his books and his Bible, trying to salvage whatever's left so that he can continue his mission in the coming new year.
Pasasalamatan ko talaga ay Panginoon na nagligtas sa amin sa bagyo.
Surrounded by the remnants of their devastated house in San Rafael, Puerto Princesa, members of this family remind themselves that despite everything, dinner time is always family time.
Yung mga troso na sobrang lalaki, yun yung nakapagpalubog ng namin, ng bahay.
This gas lamp is the only source of light for the family 2 weeks after the storm. JP, one of the children, always gets excited each time the lamp is lit. He thinks it's always his birthday. JP was supposed to celebrate his birthday on December 23rd.
Kaso lang nangyari nga po na 17 pa lang, ganito na winasak niya na yung bahay namin. Wala, zero talaga, sir, zero.
His mother said JP wanted the chocolate cake and toy cars, but all of their savings were lost.
Siguro, sir, ganito, madilim. Madilim katulad ng buhay namin ngayon, sir.
It may be difficult to carry on with almost nothing left, but the Navals remain grateful that they will welcome the new year together as a family.
The city government officials say that at least 60% of power has been restored in the city, but residents continue to appeal for solar lamps, blankets, and other construction materials so that they can start building their temporary shelters during the new year. Back to you.
Tristan Nodalo there in Puerto Princesa in Palawan reporting. Taking you now to Dinagat Islands in northern Mindanao, one of the areas hardest hit by Odette. Residents there will also welcome the new year in the dark as they struggle with lack of power and resources as well as bad weather. George Quilas now joins us from the island province. George, tell us more about the situation there. George? Do we have George Quilas on the line? All right, we're going to go back to George Quilas in just a bit. Communication is not very good yet on Dinagat Islands, and that's why we can only have him at different times on by telephone. We're going to try and get him back in just a bit from Dinagat Islands. In the meantime, let's move on. First, President Duterte has signed the 5 trillion peso national budget for 2022, but he is still worried there will not be enough elbow room if the Omicron variant spreads. Amor Santos gives us a breakdown of next year's spending plan.
5,024 billion pesos. That's the national budget for 2022.
considered the biggest in the country's history as it continues to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Express my appreciation to the members of Congress for ensuring the timely ratification of the more than 5 trillion peso national budget. Maubos kaya natin to.
Under the spending plan, the Health Department will get the third biggest allocation next to Education and Public Works. A lion's share of health funding, almost 89 billion pesos, will be used to streamline the health system. Another 80 billion pesos to subsidize the health insurance of indigent families and senior citizens. 23 billion pesos to improve hospitals and other health facilities, and 17 billion pesos for the salaries and benefits of public health personnel. Around 48 billion pesos will also be used to purchase the much-needed booster shots, mostly under unprogrammed appropriations. These will be funded when there are excess revenues or approved loans. And after marathon congressional hearings on the lack of benefits given to healthcare workers, the 2022 budget has 51 billion pesos for their special risk allowance. After signing the budget on Thursday, President Duterte admitted he's quite worried, seeing just how fast the Omicron variant is spreading in different countries.
I just hope that we will cope up, if ever. But we can hardly, mawala ng elbow room itong budget na ito to respond to the new challenge of a new variant of the COVID-19.
In response to the threat of new variants, the country aims to sustain its genomic biosurveillance efforts and establish a premier facility to study viruses. As the government veers away from massive lockdowns, it's ready to assist displaced workers and will carry on with social protection programs such as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino. Priority education projects include the development, reproduction, and delivery of learning modules, although officials hope schools can reopen for face-to-face classes next year. The Duterte administration is not abandoning its Build, Build, Build program, allotting billions to the Departments of Public Works and Transportation to accelerate flagship infrastructure projects. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The World Health Organization raises concerns that the Omicron and Delta variants are now twin threats driving up COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths around the globe.
I'm highly concerned that Omicron, being more transmissible, circulating at the same time as Delta, is leading to a tsunami of cases. This is and will continue to put immense pressure on exhausted health workers and health systems on the brink of collapse, and again distributing lives and livelihoods.
To date, there have been 284.6 million COVID cases worldwide. Over 5.4 million, or 5,400,000 of them have died, based on the latest data from Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. Now, amid the threat of the highly transmissible Omicron variant, the quality of face masks play a key role in COVID-19 prevention. Here at home, the Science and Technology Department has built the country's first laboratory to test face masks and other protective gear. Carolyn Bonkin gives us a closer look.
A chemist is checking if synthetic blood will penetrate the surgical mask. It didn't, which means the wearer will be safe from potentially infectious blood-borne diseases. In separate machines, they're also testing its water repellency and breathability, a measure to check if the mask is effective against contaminated fluids. They can also check if it's the right fit for the user, which is also very important in preventing COVID-19 infection. Next month, they will also have a new machine that will test if virus or bacteria particles could pass through the mask.
The delivery system of the virus remains the same. It is aerosolized. Fit tester became important kasi yung leakages, sa kapag sinabi nilang may butas sa tagiliran, or, we like to have chin masks, we bring it down, or ear mask.
These are just some of the tests now available in the country as it opens its first medical textile testing center. This laboratory tests and develops face masks and personal protective equipment not only against COVID-19 infection, but for other medical and occupational use as well. It's run by the Department of Science and Technology. Building it cost 82 million pesos, pulled from the government's contingency fund, an investment in building the country's response to future health crisis.
Marami tayong manufacturers, wala silang ability to have their products tested.
Since the beginning of the pandemic until today, locally made masks and protective equipment are sent to facilities abroad for testing. It takes time and costs a lot of money. The DOST even had to pay laboratories abroad 220,000 pesos to test the face mask they developed and 750,000 for 2 sets of PPEs. With their own laboratory, the agency estimates cost will be cut by over half with a faster turnaround time.
Usually, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, but we can reduce it to 2 to 3 weeks. And aside from that, 50% less yung fees for the testing of face masks.
And with many face masks in the market, the laboratory is set to help the Food and Drug Administration in checking if these are really within international standards. So far, the FDA has approved nearly 200 brands, but also issued advisories against misbranded or mislabeled face masks.
It is especially important in government procurement for the government to check kung okay ba yung quality of the material so that you can then validate and verify if what is claimed is actually what is the case of that product.
The laboratory can start testing from January to March. By April, it will be fully operational. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
Still ahead on Newsnight, as we mark the 125th death anniversary of our national hero, some propose new ways by which students can learn about his life and work. Find out after the break.
For ghosts, there's no place like home.
This main house has something in it.
And home is Discovery Plus. Freak out on all the episodes of Ghost Adventures.
Whatever is up in that room doesn't want us there.
I heard that. Discovery Plus is here, the exclusive home of Ghost Adventures. Subscribe now at 129 pesos per month.
Welcome to our world, where we empower our customers to determine their personal path to financial success. Introducing the Bancom Experience Program from Bank of Commerce, an exclusive membership program for a discerning few. Enjoy more personalized banking and access to exclusive benefits that suit your lifestyle, including a safer banking experience with the EMV debit card, higher EMV debit card withdrawal limits. Grow a successful and rewarding financial future with experience from Bank of Commerce. Visit Bank of Commerce online for more details.
Bawat patak, may sarap, may lakas, sulit. Red Horse Beer.
Now, the hallmark of a birria taco is the delicious slow-cooked meat filling, and it usually has a side of a savory broth to dip the signature fried tacos in. Sounds delicious, right, Chef?
That's right. And usually, to achieve that wonderful and tasty meat, it would take about 4 to 6 hours to slow cook. However, today, we are going to show you a life hack so you can easily enjoy these birria tacos at home in under an hour. Using, of course, our Pure Foods corned beef.
You guys are gonna love this, and you can even make this a fun family activity for the weekend, and Chef here will show you exactly how it's done. Let's go, Chef.
All right, so here are the ingredients. Now let's prepare first the filling and its sauce. Heat oil in a pan,
And then saute garlic and onions until onions are tender. Add tomato paste and continue to saute. Add the corned beef and spices and continue sauteing for about a minute. Add crushed tomatoes, water, and simmer for 10 minutes over low heat, stirring occasionally. Add soy sauce and sugar. Then lastly, add the cilantro. Now strain to separate the corned beef filling from the dipping sauce. To make the tacos, mix all the ingredients until smooth and knead for about 15 minutes. Divide the dough into 15 small balls and rest this for about 30 minutes. Now roll out each ball into 6-inch diameter pieces. Meanwhile, heat the pan on high and then cook each taco for about 30 seconds on each side. Now to assemble, place every 2 tablespoons of corned beef filling on each taco and then garnish with extra cilantro. Now serve this with its sauce and lime wedges.
And now for my favorite part, the taste test. Okay, I want to try this. So how do I do this, chef? Gotta get the sauce.
Yes.
Gotta get all the sauce.
Lots of the sauce.
They're so good.
I'm glad you like
My
it.
kids and hubby will definitely enjoy this wonderful birria. Oh my gosh, just like the real thing.
Alam mo naman, ang Pure Foods corned beef takes care of the pure sarap families are craving for.
I agree with you there, and this recipe is so enjoyable to make, and you end up with such a yummy dish. So mommies, you should all try this at home. So right now, stock up on your supply run, stock on Pure Foods corned beef, which is available in all leading supermarkets, and you can even add to cart Pure Foods corned beef on your favorite e-commerce sites, Lazada and Shopee, or buy online at the SMC Hub.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. On the 125th death anniversary of Jose Rizal today, President Duterte called on Filipinos to honor our modern-day heroes. In a message, Mr. Duterte highlighted the role of pandemic frontliners who, quote, fought against odds brought by the disease to help save lives while risking their own, unquote. The president also led the wreath-laying rites at Rizal Park earlier today. The national icon also got another tribute today, this 3D printed structure at the Department of Science and Technology Complex in Taguig. The Jose Rizal Filipino Scientist statue stands 12 feet and 5 inches tall, making it the tallest 3D printed monument of the Philippine hero. This was created by the DOST's Metals Industry Research and Development Center. Now, Rizal has been a required class for decades, but how well do we really know the national hero? Some educators and experts suggest learning about the national hero should go beyond memorization. And as our Paolo Barcelon explains, they believe teaching Rizal's life and work should be relevant to the times.
For college student Kenan Gawaran, Rizal class centered not just on his 2 famous novels, but on the national hero as a person. He took his Rizal class in 2019 and is now a political science junior at the Ateneo de Manila University.
Bago kami humantong doon sa pagtalakay ng Noli Me Tangere, pati El Fili, may mga ibang teksto siyang pinabasa sa amin na mas magpapalawig nung kaalaman namin sa konteksto nung panahon ni Rizal.
Kenan had to take a Rizal class as it is required by law for college students. The law that dates back to 1956 requires readings of the national heroes' well-known books, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. For seasoned elementary and high school teacher Danilo Lumabas, teaching Rizal to an even younger audience can be challenging, especially in an age of historical distortions and misinformation. He says he's encountered students who shared false claims about Rizal on social media.
One of those ay yung classic na may kinalaman siya sa pagtatayo ng World Bank. Siya daw yung tatay ni Jack the Ripper, siya daw ang tatay ni Adolf Hitler, tapos siya daw nag-abogado daw kay Ferdinand Marcos.
In a recent newspaper column, historian Ambeth Ocampo said Rizal left 25 volumes of writings for a nation that does not read him. For Jose Victor Torres, who was involved in the 1998 movie Jose Rizal, a thematic approach to Rizal's life and works may help Filipinos better understand their national hero. Torres adds, students should go beyond memorizing just the facts of Rizal's life.
Ang isang malaking problema siguro, Paolo, dito sa ating pagtuturo minsan ng Rizal, ng ibang mga guro, bungad pa lang, hero na si Rizal eh. We have to at least divert away from the common textbooks that have already come out, no? About sila Alib, sila Gregorio Saide, and all of these things, where each and every item about Rizal is itemized and students are forced to memorize.
Both Kenan and teacher Danny agree that students should appreciate Rizal in a deeper sense, and teachers should be more creative in presenting his life and works in this digital age. Paolo Barcelon, CNN Philippines.
It is New Year's Eve tomorrow, the last day of 2021. Remember to end the year right by keeping yourself and everyone around you safe from COVID-19. Maintain social distancing, wear your mask, keep your hands clean, and avoid social gatherings. And if you haven't gotten vaccinated or boosted yet, do so. Here's to a happy and healthy New Year. And that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
DYKB Bacolod, mas pinalawak, mas pinalakas. DYKB Radio Ronda.
For many of us, we never really think much about our gallbladder, like we do our heart or the liver. But the gallbladder has a very important role in our digestive system. It's a relatively small organ located just under the liver. And there's a reason why these two organs sit next to each other. Think of them as the liver as some sort of a factory, while your gallbladder is like a warehouse. Now, the liver produces bile while the gallbladder stores and releases that bile to help break down mainly fats when you eat. You need bile to break down fats, which are actually one of the hardest parts of the food to digest. And when you break down the fats, you transform it into energy that the body can use. Today on the program, we'll talk about how to keep your gallbladder in good health to avoid the likelihood of problems such as inflammation and gallstones. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. The gallbladder is a key component of our digestive system, and our guests are here today to tell us more about how it works, what it's for, and why we need to ensure that our gallbladder is healthy. With us is Dr. Catherine Te. She's the Chief of Hepatobiliary and Pancreatic Center in Makati Medical Center and the President of the Philippine Hepatobiliary Surgeons. Also with us is Dr. Ira Inductivo Yu. She is a gastroenterologist from National Kidney and Transplant Institute and Diliman Doctors Hospital and the President of the Philippine Society of Gastroenterology. Now, when someone eats fatty food, your gallbladder receives a signal to react. I'll start first with Dr. Kathy. How does it all work? Please explain to our viewers yung basic functions ng ating gallbladder o ang ating abdo.
Well, technically, the gallbladder is a storage. It's a reservoir. You know, it stores the bile because the bile is secreted in the liver, and then it is 80% of it is stored in the gallbladder. Once we eat, there is some signal that is sent to the gallbladder to stimulate it, and then it will send the bile or push the bile down into the biliary tract to bring the bile down to the intestines for digestion, to help in the digestive process. So technically, it's just a reservoir.
But bile has other functions as well. Dr. Ira, let's talk about that next. Some of the other functions ng bile natin.
The bile also facilitates digestion of other nutrients, and particularly when it comes to vitamins, it facilitates the digestion and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K.
Now, we keep hearing time and time again to eat healthy, and here are more reasons why. Because certain foods can actually protect and promote a healthy gallbladder. Dr. Kathy, pag-usapan naman natin, what are these gallbladder-friendly foods naman?
We know that we need to have a good diet, a balanced diet. And basically, everything that is less fatty will be healthy for the gallbladder. Because when there is an imbalance in the amount of fat, for example, cholesterol, and then the bile salts, when there is a difference in the concentration, that's when gallstones develop. And therefore, foods that are less fatty are the ones that are healthy to the gallbladder. So that's in a general sense, no?
Right.
But there are some certain kinds of food, for example, fish, sardines, leafy vegetables, and these are very good food for the gallbladder.
Now, when you look at the list that was shown to you, you can see a variety of protein and vitamin-rich food. And these are a mix of food items that can also make you enjoy your meals at the same time. Now, fruits and vegetables are especially full of nutrients as well as fiber. So incorporate these into your diet, not just to keep the gallbladder healthy, but they're good for the overall health of your body. Now, Dr. Ira, pag-usapan naman natin yung mga food items na pwedeng mag-increase ng likelihood ng mga problema sa gallbladder. So what are some of the foods that our viewers should avoid naman?
Anything that is very high in fat, anything that is very high in oil, the processed foods, we should try to avoid them. Avoiding this type of food will decrease the likelihood for patients to have gallbladder stones or gallbladder sludge. And if it so happens that you already have the stones there, if you try to avoid, again, oily processed foods, there is now a decreased likelihood for you to have inflammation of your gallbladder. So stay away from them. Stay away from eating too much lechon and sisig, and try your vegetables and fruits. So even if there's a fiesta and the Christmas break is coming, try to control the urge to divulge too much, to indulge yourself too much on fatty foods.
Ultimately, we want to avoid gallbladder problems such as gallstones or the inflammation of the gallbladder, and our food choices can make or break that situation. So how do we treat these various conditions? We'll find out when we return. So stay with us on MedTalk Health Talk, only here on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines, where caring is our calling. Your gallbladder works to store and release your bile, a fluid that helps the body break down and digest the food that you eat, in particular, fat. Fat takes longer to digest than other foods, but you need it. It supports several of your body's functions and gives your body that energy that it needs. It's in our best interest to keep our gallbladder healthy throughout the food we eat. Dr. Kathy, explain natin sa mga viewers kung ano ba talaga ang mga gallstones. How does it form?
That's really the most common problem that we encounter, the gallstones, no? Basically, the bile has to maintain a certain balance in the concentration of the fats and the bile salts and water. So if there is a critical elevation of one component, for example, cholesterol, mataas ang level ng cholesterol, then the formation of cholesterol stones can happen in the gallbladder.
Now, another thing that may disrupt this balance that Dr. Kathy mentioned is that of skipping meals. Dr. Ira, is the practice of skipping meals, can this increase the likelihood of one person developing gallstones?
Yes, you're right. Apparently it is. In fact, if you look at the literature, people engaging themselves on crash diets are at higher risk for developing gallstones. So even if this strategy is very effective for weight loss reduction, it has another side to it. And that's what we do not want. If you indulge yourself in too fast weight reduction, in too prolonged intermittent fasting, in the long run, you might end up with gallbladder sludge.
Gallstones themselves are not necessarily the problem, and if they're not bothering you, most of the time, they don't need to be surgically removed, but they may not go away on their own. That's why I'd like to ask Dr. Ira, for those who may be concerned that they already have bile stones, is it proper for our viewers to probably, even though they don't feel any symptoms, to have a check with their doctor if they do have beginning gallstones? Is this something that they should be worried about?
Yeah, definitely yes. Okay, anything that is not supposed to be in the body should be treated and should be seen by a doctor, and that would include your gallbladder stone. In fact, these stones, even if they are there, patients should be advised properly on how to prevent inflammation of the gallbladder and what to do if ever inflammation occurs. Now, there are certain patients that should be looked into more closely because these are patients that might develop more severe complications of gallbladder. And this basically would include the diabetic patients and the elderly patients, and even patients who are on chemotherapy or immunosuppressants because they have higher tendency for infection to set in. So these are the patients that we should be looking more intently.
Now, Dr. Ira, you mentioned quite a few other comorbid conditions, ibang mga sakit like diabetes for one. Another question is, namamana ba itong mga gallbladder stones?
There are some risk factors that have been identified that would increase the risk for gallbladder inflammation when a stone is present. And this would include, first and foremost, the age. Apparently, the older you get, the higher your tendency to have cholecystitis or gallbladder wall inflammation. And they usually ascribe it to an increase in biliary cholesterol secretion in the bile, and the fact that as you age also, unfortunately, the gallbladder emptying time is also lessened. So if you try to connect these two factors together, then there you go. You have a higher tendency for cholecystitis. Now, some also would say that if you had a prior history of a stroke or a cardio or a cerebrovascular disease, you have a higher tendency for cholecystitis. But the connection and the reasoning behind it, although not fully elucidated, is there. So I think these are the people that you should, again, intently monitor for signs and symptoms of gallbladder complications.
Could you share with our viewers what are some of the usual warning signs that someone may have a gallbladder that needs immediate medical or surgical treatment for that matter?
Unfortunately, most of our patients with gallbladder, they don't feel anything bad. In fact, a lot of them, they will just have it incidentally diagnosed during a general checkup. However, for those who develop symptoms, the usual complaint is bloatedness, or they have this heavy feeling in the tiyan nila, mabigat, makabag. Now, for some patients, they may have pain, colicky pain on and off for several months that they will just dismiss as just having peptic ulcer disease or gastritis. Now, for the more complicated scenarios, these patients could have persistent abdominal pain. They can have even jaundice. They can have inflammation of the pancreas. They can even have sepsis because of cholangitis, okay? Now, where is the pain usually located? So naturally, if the gallbladder becomes inflamed, the pain is localized in the right upper quadrant or in the middle of the abdomen. These are the usual reasons why they go to the clinic.
Okay, now Dr. Ira, as a follow-up to that, if someone feels those symptoms already, does medical treatment have a role here, or is it most often than not a surgical case by this time?
If the patient comes to you already with cholecystitis, the recommendation is admit, give antibiotics, and do the cholecystectomy, ideally within the same hospital admission.
Okay. The best thing here is don't wait too long. So go see a doctor when you experience any of these problems. Don't set it aside or don't think it may go away on its own. So if surgery is the only option to treat this condition, what does life look like without a gallbladder? We'll discuss this after a short break. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Your gallbladder can be removed if necessary. Now, people without it can live a normal and healthy life. But this means your body isn't able to store bile in your gallbladder anymore because it has been removed. And as a result, some dietary changes are recommended at first to help your body adapt. Dr. Ira, what if someone has their gallbladder removed but still continues to eat a high-fat diet? Are there any further complications that may happen? Just to remind our viewers that eating healthy is definitely a plus.
Of course, it's not only the gallbladder that is affected by a high-fat diet. Remember, the liver, okay, can have fatty deposition. In fact, we should eat healthy. We have to really lessen the fat for good health. Fatty liver is now a worldwide. It's a silent pandemic. And our notion before is it's just fatty liver. It will not kill me. But the problem is it's a progressive disease. And for all we know, we might end up with a lot of liver fibrosis or liver cirrhosis. So even if you do not have the gallbladder, even if you're not concerned with gallbladder stone because there's no gallbladder to begin with, you have to take care of your liver. You have to take care of your heart. And there is also such a thing as common bile duct stone. So I think you should eat healthy. Okay, try to lessen the fatty foods.
As a reminder to our viewers to always eat healthy because it will not only manage the presence of problems with your gallbladder, but with your liver, your heart, and your whole body in general. Now, I'd like to ask Dr. Kathy, when it comes to problems with the gallbladder, ang problema lang ba ay stones or can infection and inflammation also be a cause for concern when it comes to our gallbladder? And when it comes to the stones, sa gallbladder lang ba sila nakikita?
That's very important for our viewers to know because the stones can cause the infection. Now, sometimes there's also what we call as a acalculous cholecystitis, where there's no stone, but there's infection in the gallbladder. So these needs to be treated as well. And the stones, sometimes they're not only in the gallbladder. So if this migrates, the patient can turn jaundice. They will become yellow and they can develop fever. Ito yung tinatawag na cholangitis. So we don't want patients to develop cholangitis, which is infection within the biliary system.
Now, before we go, I'd like to ask Dr. Ira, are there any tips that you could share with our viewers when it comes to not just gallbladder health, but liver health as well?
Unfortunately, fatty liver is becoming one of the more common reasons now for liver cirrhosis. So we need to stop as early as possible, need to stop this bad habit of eating lots of fatty foods. Second, we need to regulate and avoid too much alcohol consumption. So if you can control your urge to drink alcohol, you have to control it right now. And then, of course, vaccinate. So we need to maximize the opportunity that we have to vaccinate ourselves and our family. We all need it. And then, of course, have your regular checkup. As physicians, we would like to see you in our clinic just for a good annual checkup. We don't like to see you with a very sick liver already. So please consult early.
Dr. Kathy, is there anything you'd like to add? Any advice for the viewers before we go?
Sometimes we do not take too much into account the diet of our children. And parang, oh, bata pa yan eh, pwede to. But in reality, the healthy lifestyle should start while they're young so that they develop into a good habit.
Maraming salamat, hepatobiliary surgeon Dr. Catherine Te and gastroenterologist Dr. Ira Indoctivo Yu for being with us today. We appreciate your time and insights very much. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time. Stay safe.
RPN Regional AM radio stations nationwide welcomes CNN Philippines, a first on radio, to bring you the latest news you can use, news you can trust. Listen to Newsnight, weekdays 6 p.m.
And I'll go above and beyond the headlines.
Followed by MedTalk Health Talk.
We'll talk about how to keep ourselves healthy during the pandemic.
Politics as usual.
Our guests for tonight, two political